I'm Dr. Duke with The New American, and I'm joined today by a friend of the program, Michael Hill, State Representative for the state of Florida, 1st District. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Dr. Duke, thank you for having me.
Now, you are in a campaign battle this fall, and early voting is about to get ready to start. Talk a little bit about the campaign, and we want to certainly encourage everybody in Florida in that 1st District to get out to vote.
Well, thank you, Dr. Duke. The campaign is looking good right now. We've checked all the boxes in terms of making sure that we have the proper fundraising, sending out mailers, staying in contact with our constituents. And it's all about my program of being a constitutional conservative, which means limited government, low taxes, personal freedom, and individual responsibility. So we believe that the constituents are going to send me back again for another 2 years to fight for those conservative values.
Well, that's why we love having you on the program, because you are a very rare these days, even Republican constitutionalist. So we applaud you for that, sir. And by all means, Florida 1st District, get out and vote. Mike, we really got you on today, though, to talk primarily about, in this segment, cancel culture in the broader sense of the term. And what always troubles me about cancel culture, as Orwellian as it is, if it happened equally across parties, you could perhaps, I suppose, live with it. But the fact that cancel culture is clearly decimating conservative websites, conservative media, conservative thinkers, way more than it is the progressive left, it's not only unconstitutional and a moral outrage, it's really a sign of fascism, isn't it?
Oh, I believe it is. And we're seeing it across so many different spectrums. Like you mentioned social media, but we're also seeing it where they want to remove statues, they want to remove monuments, they want to try and cancel our history. They want to try and remove the fact that the United States was founded on Christian principles, and they want to try and erase that completely. You know, originally I thought that it was kind of childish, kind of immature, but when you look at what they're trying to do, it is much more sinister than that, Dr. Duke. What they are trying to do is implement, and it is utterly amazing that we're talking about this in America today. They're trying to implement Marxism, socialism in the United States. And when you look at history, and we always see this, you don't have to go back too far. You can go back to Nazi Germany, communist China. You can see what the first steps they always do is try to cancel the culture, to take over instead and implement their culture, their mindset. And the reason they do that is because they want nothing to be competing with them. What they want is their thoughts, their mindset to be supreme, including over religion. We're seeing this, Dr. Duke, out in California, where it's crazy. Governor Newsom is saying that people can not only not meet at church, they can't meet in their home to have church services. And the reason they do that, again, it is so sinister, is because they want the state to be supreme. They don't want you to know that your rights come from God, not from the government, which means that there's a higher power than the government, which they don't want you to know. And I think that's behind this entire cancel culture movement that we're seeing right now.
Well, progressive Marxists and socialists, by definition, they oppose history, because when you look at the history of socialist Marxist countries and socialist Marxist government, it doesn't go very well. You can't point to any place in the country without seeing huge tallies of dead bodies, right, in the world that has embraced Marxism. So we know why they want to cancel it. But this is a very complicated subject, and I want to ask you a sensitive question. To what degree in this country? We know, people of goodwill everywhere know that there are legitimate aspects of the protest, right? Protest has always been a foundation of American democracy, the republic. We know that there are certainly ways in which minority cultures can be given more opportunities and ways of competing on a more level playing field. I think people of goodwill understand that. But let me ask you, where, in your mind, to what degree are the leaders of some of these movements, Black Lives Matter, some of these other groups that are led by black activists, the 1619 Project, to what degree are they, would you say, being used by forces bigger than themselves or are complicit with those forces. So, for instance, we know that the two founders of Black Lives Matter are self-described Marxists. It seems to me that they are not being used by socialists. They are socialists. But other aspects of our culture where we see African Americans protesting, how do you separate the one from the other? And in your mind, who's being used versus who knows exactly what they're doing?
I think it's a combination of both, Dr. Duke. First of all, they are being used, and you can see that when you look at the funding, where it is coming from and where it goes. If you go to Black Lives Matter and then you donate, and then you click to see where that donation went to, you see it goes to all these leftist organizations, including to Joe Biden and to others. So they are being used, and they know that. They are complicit in it. And I would offer that their whole entire premise, I reject, that it is not sincere. In the United States of America, you have the freedom, first of all, as you mentioned, to peaceably protest. That is one of our foundations. That's how this nation got started, actually, was to peaceably protest. And then when they had to declare themselves away from Great Britain, they did, and it became violent. We don't need violence in the United States. Again, I reject the premise that there is a certain group of people, let's say blacks in America, who are unable to achieve what they can because of systemic racism. That is simply false. That is not true. I am a product of coming from a large family. I have 8 brothers and sisters. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, but I was able to go to the Air Force Academy. I was able to start a small business. And for the past 30 years, I've been a small business owner, very successful, been able to run for office, get elected. We have elected in this nation a black president, not once, but twice. It is nonsense to even accept their premise that there is systemic racism in America and it needs to be challenged.
Yeah, I like to phrase it, we are a country of systemic opportunity, right? Even in the darkest hours of slavery in the 19th century, the Constitution as written demonstrated that sooner or later, if we lived up to that standard, slavery would have to go away. And it did. And so we are a culture, even in the darkest times of our history, we have been a culture of systemic opportunity. I'm really troubled, Mike, about why is it that people like you and Clarence Thomas and Condoleezza Rice, so many examples on both sides of the political aisle, right, who have done exactly that. You have capitalized on your opportunities. You may have started farther back than others, but you have more than made up and exceeded in many ways. Why is it that the progressive forces, whether they're black progressives or not, why is it that they see you as part of the problem, not as a model to follow? Why aren't they holding up people like you as an idea that, look, in this country, you all can do this? Why is it that people who like you speak the way you do, they immediately say to you, oh, you've sold out, you're a Tom, you're part of the white culture?
Well, it's because I don't fit their narrative. Their narrative is that you're a victim and that you need to be treated and act like a victim, and you can't help yourself. You have to wait on someone else to lift you out of your victimhood. And I utterly reject that. That, as you say, we have here in America the privilege of living in this great nation, United States of America, the greatest nation the world has ever seen. And we have the privilege of living here and thriving here. Instead of being a part of a group, I always think as an individual. And as an individual, you have the ability, the opportunity to determine, I am going to succeed. And in America, you work hard enough, you can do that.
We got about 50 seconds left. Give us your final statement about how we might cancel culture.
What we need to do is, instead of focusing on a particular group and being a victim of that group, that instead we champion the rights of the individual. It's the individual that we need to look at, not being a part of a group. We cancel culture by not accepting their premise. We reject it and say instead that we are going to prosper in this nation as we are able to and what is provided for us.
State Representative Mike Hill, 1st District. Good people of Florida, time to get out and vote. Do the right thing. Thanks, Mike, for your time today.